Committee and special board meeting of March 16th, 11 a.m. And we'll start with roll call.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Williams. Member and Director President Scott Houston. Here. Chairman Harold Williams.
Here.
Alternate Director Desi Alvarez. Director Gloria Gray. And Director Don Deere. So, Mr. Chairman, we do have both members of the committee.
Okay, then we can get started. Up is public comment.
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any requests for public comment. However, if any member of the public that is with us virtually would like to make a public comment, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand. Mr. Chairman, I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, then we'll move on to item 4, which should be
And staff has no presentations today.
action calendar.
Staff has no action items on the calendar today.
Very good. Then we'll move on to item 6, which would be information calendar, and I will turn it over to our Assistant General Manager. And it's show is yours for the rest of the morning.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We do have 4 information items here for the committee. The first is item 6A, and it is our monthly communications update. And for this presentation, we do have Melissa Buendia, our public information specialist.
And good morning, committee members. I will be providing an overview of the communications efforts that have taken place over the tail end of January and into the month of February. I will begin on packet page 5, where you will see a summary of the announcements that were made in the past month. So there were 2 press releases that were distributed, including the announcement of the 2023 Water Lab program schedule and the announcement of Director Alvarez serving on the Metropolitan Board of Directors. And some notable web news posts included the service area reaching a record low in water use in 2022, as well as the announcement for the call of water use data from our service area water retailers and businesses to help inform some future CII-focused programs. Then moving on to packet page 6, you'll find that 2 e-blasts were sent out on behalf of the district, reminding folks about the Water is Life Student Art Contest deadline and announcing the Water Lab 2023 schedule. On packet pages 7 and 8, you'll see a summary of the earned media coverage from the month, and attachment B, beginning on packet page 15, provides a comprehensive media clips handout, which you can look at your leisure. Some of the highlights include Engineering Week mentions surrounding the aforementioned accomplishment of reaching a new record low of drinking water demand, and of course our Water Lab program. Moving along to packet page 10, which are our social media highlights. Our top posts on Facebook included a Water Lab promotion for our February public tour and a recap of the February 6th board installation ceremony event. As for Instagram, some of our top posts included, were similar to that of Facebook and included Morningside High School's rain barrel check presentation as well. And then on packet page 11, you'll see the top post for LinkedIn, and that included the announcement of the reorganization of our board titles and a new representation at the Metropolitan Board once again. And then on Twitter, top posts included Culver City's water bottle filling station reveal and the Grades of Green rain barrel check presentation. And just one last thing I did want to note about social media is that both Malibu and El Segundo have been really good about sharing anything related to Water Lab or programming on our social media platforms. So just wanted to communicate how grateful we are for the continued engagement with our students. Right, and then moving along to packet page 13, which shows some of our upcoming communication opportunities. Some of them include media relations surrounding the Legislator of the Year awards and then the announcement of our Water is Life Student Art Contest winners for this year. Before I move on to packet page 14, I just wanted to take a quick pause to ask if there's any questions before I move along.
Thank you for that, Director Houston.
Perfect. So on packet page 14, I did just want to provide a general update on the planned event coordination efforts for the 2023 Water Harvest event and ask the committee for any initial direction or input because the spring months are definitely important in laying the foundation for the event's direction and ultimately scale of the event. So I just wanted to provide a preview of some of the planning items coming in the next couple of months. So staff will be compiling documents that are required to go out to bid for an event production company with plans to come back to the board, to committee and then board with a recommendation in late spring with plans to onboard an event production company late June at the latest, early July. So that would give us about 4.5 months in addition to the spring pre-planning months from that point to execute or implement. Part of the current planning process and taking into consideration the recent feedback regarding the 2022 event and the current budget discussions that are in progress, staff has identified that our objective for this year's event is to, of course, be efficient with our resources in terms of staffing and budgeting, and we want to make sure that we focus those resources on enhancing the value of the educational and the outreach elements for our community members, which is the core purpose of this event. So with all of that in mind, this is just a preview of what's coming in the next couple of months. And then I just wanted to open it up to the committee to provide staff with any initial thoughts and direction regarding scale about the event. So I will
Director Houston.
Sure. Thank you. I was already talking about that, right? Yeah. You know, I think so. Last year we did about 167,500. You have it here. So I think we need to try and stay within that, or maybe less. I think it was nice to have all the tented areas last year, but I do think we might want to reduce some of that just to save cost. Because normally though, when you have the booths that are around the perimeter of the parking lot in the past, they at least had more small pop-up tents or something like that. That might be something we could still do to save some cost? Yes?
So the reasoning behind putting the tent over the whole of the, I want to say the alleyway of all of our booth participants was because half of our participants get that direct sunlight at that time of day, the other half gets the shaded. So that was our attempt to provide all of them with shade. But if that's the consideration we want to take into account for this year in terms of cost savings, we can definitely note that down and see if we can work on.
Let's look at just for options, because I don't remember what the price was, but it was pretty significant for all that tenting.
Yeah, and then I also wouldn't mind asking for feedback, because one of the things we noticed that was different, we felt like, you know, with all the tenting that we had this time around, it seemed like more of like an exhibitor space, almost like a home and garden, which is good and there's pros and cons, right? On the one hand, you felt like a lot of energy in that room, right? It was all kind of, you know, people who were flowing, but and it was a little bit easier to engage because the tenting provided some bit of a sound buffer from the stage shows. But then and there were quite a lot of people there. But then at the same time, you know, sometimes the stage area, depending on where the flow of traffic was, could seem lighter in areas, even though we had full attendance all day long. And so, yeah, just kind of your sense of kind of that exhibitor space, quote unquote, and the staging, that was also kind of a, you know, impact of having the tents. So if you had any thoughts on how you felt at the event.
I agree, because again, the tents were great because they had shade and all that, but you're right. Once you were in there, you were like in a different world and you wouldn't see what was going on outside. So if an activity's happened at the stage or something, you didn't get your attention. So maybe there are some ways to look at perimeter style, or maybe it is another open air tent that doesn't have everything quite closed in. I mean, just maybe give us some options that save money, but also will allow the audience to still see what's happening around the area. So that was just one of my first feedback ideas. But don't, it was great having that. But yeah, that was kind of like when you're in there, you know, you're isolated from everything else. So that's an option, but I think it would help save money. Oh, and then one last thing too, I think we should definitely try to really look at the sponsorships to help offset costs. So no matter what the budget is, you all are starting to look at, let's see how we could potentially get more engagement on some cost offsetting, of course. And in the next month or so, when you come back, you'll probably start giving us some date options. I mean, we always know it's one of the Saturdays in October, and I love to use that, but do you think in the next month we might have consideration of dates just to start calendaring it?
Yes, April will be, I will come back to the board with dates as well as just a reminder that our intention to go out to bid for event production.
That's right. Otherwise, again, it was a great event. We had good attendance. So I just, would like us to just put some different options on the table. So when the board continues to talk about it, we can give you feedback.
I think it was a great event as well. And that since you guys know what you're doing, obviously, because you do a good job each year. And before I would look at the bottom line, because the bottom line is not always the best line, to me. So before we would reduce our efforts because it'll affect the bottom line, we need to get on those folks that we make their bottom line look really well, and those are our vendors. So we should see what we can get from them before we start reducing what we're doing. We want them to pick that slack up because we make a lot of millionaires out there, folks. In the water industry, we make a lot of millionaires out there. So please do that. And don't, after it is an outdoor event, right?
Yes.
All right. So folks know that, they should wear head covering if they need it.
Sunscreen.
Right. So keep up the good work and please, whatever you do, just 10% more on top of what you did last year. You'd be wonderful. Thank you.
And one more thing.
Yes.
And the other thing too, since we're early, is let's really think about some of those nonprofits to make sure that we have some space and can ask them early if they want to participate. And for example, Grades of Green. I think you all have a couple of others that have worked with us, but let's just see what we can do to have free space available. And there was something else, and now I forgot what it was, but
It'll come back.
it'll come back eventually. But no, it's just good to, as you said, start early, and people do know it is an outdoor event, so that's why we can only do so much under shade, right? What I liked, I think, a year or two ago when you did it was the sound. Remember, you did a pretty good job of even if you were in one area, you could hear what was going on in certain other areas, just so people were at least aware. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes the report.
EJ.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The next item that we have for you is 6B. It's our Earth Month Community Engagement Update. And we do have Daryl Ramos-Young, our Public Information Specialist 3, here for the presentation. However, before I hand it off, I just want to say thank you to staff because we have a united team working on all of the activities for not just our Earth Day, but we would call it our Earth Month here at West Basin Municipal Water District, including staff activities that are in the works. So I just want to say thank you because it's a tremendous effort that we're seeing from our staff. So for the presentation, I'm going to throw it over to our leader, Daryl Ramos-Young.
Morning, Chairperson William from Transportation. Earth Month planning is well underway with more community organizations finalizing their event planning and publicizing their efforts in local community calendars. During last month's committee meeting, West Basin staff was given the direction to seek community engagement opportunities in all 17 cities within the West Basin service area. West Basin will be conducting its own Earth Day event a Saturday, a Receive Little Water Recycling Facility tour on Earth Day itself, which is, again, Saturday, April 22nd. Currently, well, and so that takes care of El Segundo, one city down. Staff has identified 14 other possible April city events, which include Earth Day festivals, spring celebrations like Easter egg hunts, and surprisingly enough, lots of career day and STEM festivals are being conducted in April too, science, technology, engineering, math activities. So staff will continue to monitor community calendars and chat with city staffers to identify events that are missing in the cities of Rolling Hills and Redondo Beach. But we have identified other opportunities in the other cities, the remaining 7 cities. Of the events identified, 7 organizations have already invited West Basin to participate. 8 organizations will need to be contacted to determine if outside agencies are even welcome to participate and have space for such additional attendees in those other cities. If such participation is welcome, West Basin staff volunteer recruitment will need to take place. Scheduling of volunteers and coordination of equipment and materials will need to be finalized to ensure we have enough materials to distribute, as well as minimize equipment conflict. Since 6 events take place on Saturday, April 22nd, not all events provide canopies and tables, and canopies and tables do not necessarily fit in volunteer staff cars. In addition to Earth Day events, West Basin staff have prior commitments and obligations to staff West Basin sponsored events in April, including El Segundo PTA's Run for Education, also on Saturday, April 22nd. So that brings it to 7 events on that Saturday. And also the Hawthorne Business Expo and the Wise-Burn Education Foundation's Rock Around the Block. So West Basin has also been invited to participate in 5 career days and STEM festivals that month. Participation in these events will depend upon staffing availability after Earth Month event staffing and scheduling is finalized. Once staffing and equipment coordination is finalized and West Basin presence is confirmed, an Earth Month event schedule will be forwarded to the West Basin Board to keep them informed of all these events, especially if they would like to attend events in their representative cities. Events will also be added to the West Basin Board Secretary schedule of events, which is issued to the board on a regular basis. And then in addition to all that, the West Basin Green Team has a range of staff Earth Month activities planned, from staff environmental sustainability challenge to documentary reviewing, and we'll be conducting an option to participate in a service project at the Gardena Willows Preserve 2 next month. That I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much. This was exactly what I think we wanted to see, was the myriad of events that are going to be happening that month and how we can try and participate. So I do understand staff is going to have to make some strategic decisions based on the availability around, and I see you're right. We have our own water tour that morning, and we have the Run for Education, which thankfully is only for the morning portion that's done. You know, I would just advise that we do our best working with the general manager's office to see how you can accommodate the requests that have come in. And or we can also utilize the COG, right? Can we utilize the COG on some of these in those
Yes.
areas?
Yes, they'll be put into the mix.
Okay, so that helps us tremendously. And I did see some of these others which you have that we've been invited to. And even some that I wasn't aware of, which is nice, the El Rincon Elementary up there in Culver City. So, you know, that's great that people are actually reaching out to us to invite us to things. And so I would just say we have to do our best to fulfill these commitments. Of course, the number one commitment is the sponsored activities. Those always that's required. To the best of our ability, I think we shouldn't have to pay for anything. I mean, you know, the sponsorship, that's one thing, but the ones with their other festivals, I mean, they're really, hopefully we're able to participate with no cost. It's just staffing time. Maybe one last thing, and EJ and you and Greg might have to work on this. I mean, if, you know, you might have to find some extra folks to assist. I know it's last minute, but, you know, do you temporary folks to help us meet some obligations? I don't know, but it might be a thought.
We'll look at different options.
Yeah, I just don't want to miss key opportunities. So you all will have to work on your end with
Well,
Phil.
the South Bay Environmental Services Center does have an extensive volunteer group, so there's options there. Obviously, we have a lot of West Basin staff members that regularly volunteer for these things. So we'll take advantage of staff and our volunteers when and where we can. As far as temp help, we can look at that. The one problem that you obviously have is training the temp, because we get a lot of great questions when we're out in the community. And it really helps to have people that are knowledgeable and can answer that. I mean, if you've ever seen any one of our staff members staff a booth, it's pretty impressive because they have that extensive knowledge about water recycling, our urban water management planning efforts, conservation, a little bit of everything. So we'll work on staffing as many as we can, and we'll coordinate that with the South Bay Environmental Services Center.
And
Just add to, just in terms of that kind of staffing conversation, I mean, we always have our primary spokespeople in this realm are people that are staff or trained on West Basin's behalf. So temporary staff and that, and we can talk about this further, might just be on the back end, logistical, getting things where they need to be, you know, that kind of stuff. So we'll definitely, you know, I know Daryl's well aware of the logistics, and so we'll find some resources. But yeah, I think that I just want to make note that that's why it's so valuable that we do have our staff volunteers, because they are our best ambassadors.
one last note on this. When the COG, let's say it's a South Bay City event where the COG has jurisdiction, so they might be there while we got invited or whomever, but they would be there with their own booth, right? It's the COG's booth, but of course they have all the West Basin materials and information and talking points. Is that
Correct.
what happens?
Correct.
Is that,
And that's part of our existing agreement with the South Bay Environmental Services Center. They're required to staff so many booths on our behalf. And when they do that, you'll see information from the gas company, Southern California Edison, West Basin Municipal Water District, WRD. There's a diverse selection of materials, and they're also well-versed in all of our programs, so they can talk a little bit about each of those.
Very good. I'm available.
Well,
We can't fit in your vehicle.
That's an SUV.
Good. You need someone to take it out.
block off that day because we have activities for you.
Thank you, thank you. But another great, I don't know where Tammy fits in there, but she does a great job. Like the Met Day, what is it called? The soulful
Oh, Taste of Soul?
Taste of Soul. She does a great job. Well, you need to, you have a recruiting squad?
Thank you.
It really is worth noting, when you look across the room here and you see our staff, there are many Saturdays that you see all of them out, as well as our admin team, our engineers. And I think that's one of the great things about West Basin. In most events, you're going to see somebody from West Basin, if not the South Bay Environmental Services Center, who's kind of the West Basin family as well. You know, we've been a partner with them since I think 2007, maybe 2008. So the partnership with them is real, and so it helps us be a part of our communities.
Well, I've been around a little while, and you guys do a great job. And I don't think we need to instruct you on how to do your job, because you guys do a wonderful job. So we're just saying to just stay true to your lane that you're in, and just keep doing what you're doing. And just, if you want to ratchet it up 10%, wonderful. Thank you.
So this is a great segue, because not only are we out there with our outreach and our community activities, but also water use efficiency conservation. I think most everyone in Southern California, as well as throughout California, has seen all the precipitation over the last several months. But the message is still strong that we need to achieve that water use efficiency, that conservation needs to be a California way of life. And the next item that we have is 6C. It's our monthly conservation programs update. And so for those of the members of the public that click in and watch our meetings live or have a chance to watch it later, these programs are going to remain strong, and staff's going to continue to promote them because we know that there's still a great deal that we can do despite the fact that we're having a wet year. So with that, I'm going to hand over our conservation programs update to Gus Meza, our Senior Water Policy and Resources Analyst, as well as Jennifer Vasquez, our Water Policy and Resources Analyst.
Thank you, EJ. Good morning, Chairman Williams, President Houston. Good morning. I'll be providing a few updates here, like EJ mentioned, and I am currently on packet page 41. My first update is on our pilot project with the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy. With approval from our board, we were able to assist the PV Land Conservancy by securing funding from MWD's member agency administered funding program. So we were able to, on their behalf, receive funding to purchase over 700 native plants. That's a lot of plants. And also to hire a California native plant expert to teach a webinar class. On February 21st, we held the webinar, and we had over 33 residents from the Palos Verdes Peninsula area attend to learn about the California native plants. And then on Saturday, February 25th, we distributed 768 plants to 40 residents. These are low water using plants, California friendly, and they are also a great food source for the El Segundo blue butterfly and local birds and insects in the area. So it's great for the flora and fauna there. We had a couple of West Basin staff members from our green team participate. We have the green team here at West Basin, so I do want to thank Jennifer Vasquez here and Jamie Burkhart with West Basin. They came out and also assisted with that event in loading plants into vehicles, the residents' vehicles. So hearts were a little sore for a few days, but I got my workout. So through this project, we made a really good connection with the Palos Verdes Land Conservancy. So in the future, if we have programs where we do need California native plants, we know where to go. And so they provide great prices for their plants. And also we invited our retailer, California Water Service, to participate with us. And so Tammy Myers, their conservation person for Cal Water, was there with us, helping to load the plants as well. So we always try to invite our local water retailers to participate with us with programs. It's great for the relationship. So that is my update for this project here. I can go ahead and move on to the next project, which is our partnership with SoCal Gas. This program is currently being implemented in the areas of our underserved communities in West Basin. And today we've had 79 residents participate in the program, and with the goal to reach 100 residents by June. So we're tracking very well with this project. It's a pilot project, and SoCal Gas's vendor is a GES, and they're helping to promote the program and also to install the devices. So we're leveraging SoCal Gas and their vendor to provide these resources to our residents. The South Bay COG, they're also helping us promote the program when they attend events out in the community. And of course, here, April Earth Month, they'll be out and we'll be out as well. So we'll be able to provide residents with information about this free program, that they can get free devices installed in their house and outdoors to help them conserve water. So we'll be making sure that we promote this program at the Earth Day events. And I will just keep going to my last update. And this is on our I'm sorry, I'm currently on packet page 43. This is our new drought resiliency water conservation program for the North Santa Monica Bay area. This is a partnership with Las Virgenes Municipal Water District and LA County Waterworks 29. We formed this partnership. We developed this new water efficiency project, and we'll be receiving funding through the IRWAM, about $630,000. Coming to all of us to implement this program in the Calabasas, Las Virgenes area, Malibu, and the Topanga areas, the North Santa Monica Bay area. So we're very excited about this project. I'm currently working on developing this three-way MOU with Las Virgenes and the county, which spells out our roles and the budgets, our in-kind contributions, and the funding we'll be receiving through the grant. It'll all be spelled out in the MOU. So in a couple months, I'll be bringing that back to the committee for approval of the MOU. Updates, unless there's any other questions.
Question.
Yes.
I think I saw the answer reading it here. So this MOU, and when it gets signed, and it looks like we'll be able to get going in the fall, right? Is that?
That is correct. President Houston, yes, that is correct.
That's perfect timing after the dry summer potentially, and people are hopefully more engaged in this issue. And then, of course, with those neighboring agencies that are dealing with state water project issues. So I think this is ideal, and it's a good way for us to get back new outreach to Topanga and Malibu, because it seemed, I mean, the other program wrapped up, and I feel like, I haven't seen them in a while, so it's good. We got to get up there and do that. And separately, I know you're not there yet, but when it's time for rain barrels, we'll talk about rain barrel distribution ideas as well for that area. But thank you guys.
Okay.
Just quickly, I've noticed that some of the properties that have put in the native gardens, that they aren't paying attention to the weeds. And after the rains, native, I don't know if they're invasive species, but the weeds, which are nothing more than a misplaced flower, right? That they are very healthy. And if they aren't hand weeded like now, come April, they're going to take over. And then the thing that some people don't like about native gardens is the weed problem. If you don't stay on top of them, they look pretty bad. The garden will look bad. So I hope we're still reminding folks that the best way to control weeds is really the hand weeds. You got to take them out when they're just trying to get started. If you let them go, it'll be tough. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and turn this over to Jennifer. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's great feedback. Just to speak on that a little bit of content, right, to put out as a reminder as we talk about grass replacement and generate new ideas. Also reminding those that already have something in place to maintain. And we have great resources for that. So always pushing what we have on our West Basin website that talks about maintenance, connecting it back to the rainy season and the weeding that's required for those gardens, as you spoke about. So great idea. And good morning, Chair Williams and committee and board members on the call. I will begin on board packet page 44, really calling out the current actions for the Grass Replacement Plus program section, essentially mentioning the recent signing of our agreement for the grant program. I know we've mentioned it quite a few times, but finalizing an agreement and getting that recognition from DWR and also the West Basin side for the Urban and Multi-Benefit Drought Relief Funding Grant Program. It's a very long name for that, but it essentially that funding will go towards the Grass Replacement Plus program, the second round of funding for that. And so we're quite excited. These additional funds will allow the opportunity, as I mentioned, for a new round of funding to be provided, and we're hoping to begin that soon. We're currently finalizing the RFP process for the Grass Replacement Plus program. And using the grant funding that I just mentioned, but also the Metropolitan MAA funding, which is funding that's available through the member agency administered program funding. And so utilizing both of those items to continue with the Grass Replacement Plus program, which offers the design assistance, the additional drought tolerant tree, and just general rebate application assistance for residents in those census tracts, as we mentioned a few times. There, moving really into the rest of the residential grass replacement rebate program. I've included the table of the incoming rebate applications. So as mentioned previously, we did see a dip in December, and we're very happy to report January was returning back to normal. February came in with 30 applications. And one thing that I always mention, the interest is really there. So continuing to encourage those residents that have put in an application. And again, this is committed funds. This is applications that were just submitted in February. So there is that 6-month period where we wait to see how those finalize. Some residents are reporting halting their program or their project currently because of the rain, but we're hoping and working with them to complete that construction of the garden. Excited to report that we're back at the 30 applications, which is what we were seeing in the later part of 2022. Really moving into page 45 of the board packet, just to speak a little bit about the grass replacement classes. So I did want to point out the upcoming section, which mentions our partnership with the City of Gardena Beautification Commission, providing that hands-on workshop, which we've mentioned in a previous committee. It will be happening this Saturday, March 18th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. and going through to 11. At Rowley Park. I did include the address there in case there was interest in attending. We will begin with a presentation. It actually does touch on maintenance because one of the items that we will be doing after the presentation is actually hands-on maintenance at the Rowley Park ocean-friendly garden. So it talks about not only establishing a new garden if there's interest for a new project, but also talks about maintenance. And we can definitely utilize some of that content that we're using at that hands-on workshop to then promote on social media about maintenance to that comment that you just had. So again, it will be completely in-person presentation. It covers information about drought tolerant and native plant types, plant installation, maintenance, water efficient irrigation devices. I'll be talking definitely about the grass replacement rebate and the process on how to apply in case there are those that are attending that are considering this, and then getting them hands-on experience on actually planting new plants within that ocean-friendly garden at Rowley Park. So bringing some action, and we of course will be providing our West Basin gardening gloves and various program resources that day. We actually did work to actually have some giveaways. I think we have 2 or 3 plants that we'll be giving away, again, to encourage this action of consideration for grass replacement, if that's the direction hopefully that residents would like to take for new projects. Also wanted to point out that all class dates that Metropolitan continues to offer are included in the look ahead calendar. So that's there on the last page 47 for your review. And moving into public agency design assistance, wanted to point out the February 2023 updates. So just some updates there. The City of Hermosa Beach has completed construction of the median project that was included and went through our public agency design assistance program. So they participated with our landscape designer to create a new design for that Hermosa Beach site. And it was completed. And they removed 750 square feet of grass with assortment of succulents. There are great pictures that I did go out to see how it looks and how it was completed. It was a lot of succulents and drought tolerant plants that they integrated in that plant palette.
Where's that again?
The City of Hermosa Beach, it is a median located at, I'll get you the exact cross streets because even finding it, since it is in the middle of the street, I had to route close to one of the stores next door. So I'll find you the exact address just to not get you lost. But it's Gerondo and remember mentioning it to EJ, Herondo, and I'll definitely get you the address for that exact, and maybe route you to the store in front of it, because it might be harder to find if just by the cross streets.
But I'd like to see that because I was a public works city
Yeah.
engineer, and director there for 5 years, so.
Yes, and it's right in front of that sign that welcomes you to the city. So it's almost like a welcoming to this new drought tolerant space that they
I believe
created.
it's Harbor.
Harbor.
Yeah, if you go straight down,
I know where it is now.
yeah, right by the power facility.
I can see it.
Yeah, with the welcoming sign, yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. And additionally, I did want to call out the city of Redondo Beach is working on creating additional renderings of the designs that we created. There are 6 sites that they are considering at the city of Redondo Beach, but to present it to their city council, they did say that they would appreciate rendering. So that's something that's not really offered through this program, but it's a consideration that maybe in the future we can plan of actual what it might look like. Renderings, when you see a new building going out, you see the actual, almost like a 3D effect of what the landscape might look like. And so they're going through that process of discussing it with their city council and hopefully receiving approval in the next months is the feedback that I received from them. Lastly, wanted to update Cal State Dominguez Hills is beginning their bidding process for a larger project that we mentioned quite a few times because of the size. I mentioned it in the bullet there. It's 164,431 square feet of grass that they are considering around the housing area of their buildings. They are beginning that bidding process. Their application is now on file for them to receive approval for the rebate. So we're working to bring those 2 timing items hand in hand so that it works out when they're ready to begin and begin construction for that garden or gardens, since it is such a large space. Lastly, I did want to call out Culver City High School. I do have some updates there that recently occurred. So I did reach out to their staff because we did create a design and we are awaiting feedback. There is a student group there currently at Culver City High School that's really leading with this effort, but they are having some trouble scheduling with administration to review the design. So as soon as they can get that meeting with their administration group to receive feedback on what was created for the design, we're hoping that if they would like any adjustments, we can work with our landscape designer to get that going. And I also raised the question about a potential hands-on workshop with that same student group, because I think it would be a good fitting activity if they're interested, or also just offering plant material to spruce up the area for the ocean-friendly garden there at Robert Frost, which I know was noted in one of the photos, I think, that we presented about for ocean-friendly gardens. So that was a more recent update, just waiting to hear back on the student group so that we can address whatever activity they might like to see and or just providing planting material for that space. And that is the last of my updates on my end. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Director.
I do have just a few things. So now at Culver City Unified, I understood they might have a new person or not. I don't know who deals with sustainability issues. Are you all aware of a new staff member yet or not?
I personally am not aware. The student group that I'm mentioning, I know it was they are the one that is a student group. Yeah,
If you all, I don't know who your contacts are at Culver City Unified, but if you can reach back out to them, because I was told by one of the board members, I believe they're going to have a new person coming on board in that position. So we need to make sure we know if that's true, who that is, and so on. And if you could, when you find out, let me know. Regarding a couple things, so the city of Culver City, have they reached out to you all at all yet?
no, but we have tried to reach out to them.
To the city manager's office or to somebody over there?
To staff from Culver City. Yeah.
So I've talked to both the mayor, one of the council members, and the assistant city manager, about things. They're very interested. So it's just a matter of time when people connect. But if you all would reach out to Shelley Wolfberg over there and just kind of keep that moving. They've got some good opportunities right now, let alone I'd love to try and get something done this calendar year in the city of Culver City. El Segundo Library, I know you have it on here, you complete design, but what's the latest with the library property?
For El Segundo Library, we are waiting feedback. They're at that stage where we've handed over the design. We're waiting to hear if they like what we presented to them, if they need any adjustments. They did mention that there's some construction that's happening, not related to this at all. So it might be when we first visited the site in person, he was mentioning that something about the lower level of that site that needed construction, so it might hold up construction of the actual garden. So it might just be that. So at this point, we are checking in with them, but letting them know we're here to adjust any part of the design if needed, or offer any additional support for what might get the construction phase moving.
In their hands. Okay.
At this point, yes. Yeah.
Following up every so often. And then El Camino College, what's the status on that one?
They have requested additional updates for their design. It did take some time. The holidays passed on November, December, but we were able to meet with them. I believe it was early February, and they provided more feedback, removing some areas that they did not realize was not in their jurisdiction, the parkway area where the trees are by the entrance. So we're removing some portions within their design and making adjustments to other areas that they did see and are moving forward with. And once we get that back to them, essentially what they shared is that they would begin very similar to Cal State Dominguez Hills, because it is such a large project. They will go out to bid for that particular project once it's ready to go. Yeah, it's close to 133,000. I want to say closer to that range for the size of the project.
Because I just know they've got a lot going on there, new buildings and other stuff, so that's pretty great. A couple more things quickly. So regarding the Hermosa Beach project, I think that's awesome. And is there a way that you could just send those before and after photos or whatever you got just to the full board? So you can see it and that address area. So, any of us that want to go happen to buy there, but I'd love to see the before and after pictures. And on that, is this something, when we work with these partners, do we at some point just put it out there, like on social media, like, hey, we work with the city of Hermosa or vice versa on this? And it doesn't have to be immediate, but.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I can speak to. I know that Jennifer and Melissa work very closely together to do this, but, I think that's kind of as we kind of get more and more assets and a roster of things that I think that this lends itself. We do share on social media. We have been requesting not only the photos before and after, but the lovely illustrations of the design and, just kind of show the full range of things. I also think there's potential for kind of recap at the end of the year. And that's what, we talk about during our meetings, how you translate square feet to water savings, to gallons, to, benefit for the community and hopefully inspire, other communities to take advantage. So there are certainly publicity opportunities. I think it's just a matter of, enough traction, enough to share, and then, what are the keystone projects to really feature, whether it's for size or beauty or what have you. But certainly, I think that there's opportunity to showcase what these cities are doing and investing in.
Because I just think when I think about it, it's probably pretty, simple if we working in cooperation with, let's say in this case, the city, and there's a handful of pictures to select from that either they're putting it out there and we cross promote or vice versa. But then also maybe it's in our newsletter. Maybe that's where you do a longer little story or something and vice versa. Because, the cities, most of them have newsletters. I think everybody wants to showcase what they're all doing. So just something to keep in mind as I hope we get more of these projects in the pipeline. And then as they come to completion, we can put that out there. So, maybe Hermosa Beach is a good first go at it and see what happens. Let's see, I have two other things, Mr. Chair, really quick. So the Gardena beautification event, which I was going to try and go, but I have a conflict that morning. But that one, how did that come about? Was that the commission reaching out to West Basin, or how did that come together?
Initially, yes, it happened earlier last year, I think, before we were having in-person events and established kind of a system for how we would handle that. And it developed they did wait it basically initiated with wanting an in-person event that talked about gardening. And so they really let us create what the content would be. And of course, us focusing on grass replacement we made sure to include that content there. But it was a request directly from the commission to our staff.
I think it's great. And I've talked to the general manager about this too, because I think if we can have more of those types of opportunities in the different cities we serve where, because some of them have a commission like that or have an organization, I just think it would be great to do some partnership opportunities with some of the cities and have a hosted event on one of their properties. And if we could look at doing something like that in each of the 5 divisions over the course of the year, yeah. Again, I don't know which ones, some are more robust than others, you all know this, but I just think it's an excellent opportunity. So I'm happy to see this one come together, and I'd like to see what we could do in some of the others where you have relationships. And maybe talk to each of the directors if, you know, hey, that there's 2 or 3 options in your division, what might make sense, but I just think that'd be a good opportunity. And then my last thing is the residential grass replacement applications. I mean, obviously they picked up even in the midst of a very rainy February, so that's real good news. You know, and I guess this is partly a question for EJ. How are we tracking financially? You know, we're not nearing exhausting our funding options yet, are we? I mean, we're doing pretty well financially.
In terms
on
of,
the grass replacement program, both between what Matt has and also our extra dollar we've been kicking in.
correct.
I can speak to that a little bit, EJ, if that's okay. So yeah, I do keep a close eye on the funding amounts that we have for each of our rebates because there's so many different ones. The public agency one, there's residential, but there's also the commercial buckets, as I always call them. And we are making sure that there's enough to fund the projects that are going through. Specifically for residential, we do have the funding that was increased back in September of last year. So that is lasting through, and all of the applications as they're coming in, we're making sure that that additional dollar that West Basin offers is being included. So as of now, the financials are fine for all of the grass replacement projects and funding amounts. We are seeing some need of shifting funds, for example, for public agency, within the allotted amount that's already existing, but residential is tracking fine for what we have on the system already.
It's worth noting, there is a great deal of work that goes to that because I regularly get emails from Jennifer as she's shifting money and working with all of the applicants as far as making sure their applications move through and that they are funded. You know, a municipality or a school district just submitting their application sometimes doesn't quite cut it. It takes a lot of work with them and of course with Metropolitan Water District to make sure that it properly flows through the process. And so Jennifer has been very hands-on with all of our municipalities and school districts as far as that goes. So.
Thank you. Continue.
Well, our last information item is 6D. It's our water bottle filling station update. And for this, we have Tammy Hurley-High, our water policy and resources analyst.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, board directors.
Yeah.
So this first presentation, this first slide begins on page 52 of your committee packet. And we're looking at the fiscal year 2020-21 application. For Culver City Unified School District, as reported last month, they have confirmed installation of their station at Lynn Howe Elementary. However, their station at La Bayona Elementary, they are still working with an electrician with regarding issues related to getting power to that location where they want to install it. At the next slide, for the LA Unified School Districts, we have good news. They have completed installation of all 3 of their stations that are located at Broad Acres and Catskills Elementary Schools in Division 1, and then also at 156th Street Elementary in Division 5. So we have ordered new signs for these locations. And for the city of Redondo Beach, good news on their end as well, as they have completed installation of their new station at Veterans Park. Also ordering a sign for that location as well. And for El Segundo Middle School, their station is still pending. The current construction they have is happening still on campus, so it's just still pending. And then regarding the units for the city of Gardena, we have their award check and we've already mailed that to them and they will be processing orders for their stations. So if we can move to the next slide, please. We were able to complete a photo opportunity at the newly installed station located at Temple Akiba in Division 4. And included in this photo is board member, Executive Vice President Mark Bauer, board member for Early Childhood Center trustee, Caroline Schwartz, the Rabbi Zachary Shapiro, President Houston, staff member who is the Director of Education, Randy Bishop, co-chair of the Green Team, Renee Meshul, and lastly, the Executive Assistant, Rebecca Holzberg. So this station is located in one of their main hallways with the most exposure and accessibility for about 500 people. And this organization is trying to become as green as possible. So their board has approved a new green initiative and now has a green team dedicated to focus on their efforts. And the water bottle filling station is another step in their goal towards reducing the throwaway plastic bottles. Move to the next slide, please. So this slide indicates the agencies in which we are coordinating photo opportunities for. We have confirmed photo opportunities coming up for the Manhattan Beach Unified School District and the Environmental Charter High School in Lawndale. And we will continue to keep the directors updated on the other locations as more information becomes available. If we can move to the next slide, please. So this slide shows the applications received so far this year. Regarding the city of Hermosa Beach, this is for an outdoor unit and there have been delays due to the weather conditions for installing their unit. We have received a new application from the city of Torrance, and this will be for their El Nido Park, which is located in West Basin Service Area of Division 3. And this application is pending review as we're waiting for some additional information from them. And for the city of Gardena, the Raleigh Park location, we have also sent an award letter and a check to them. The environmental charter schools, they have installed both units at their Gardena High School location, and we are also ordering signs for these units. Move to the next slide, please. So here's the program budget for this fiscal year. And so far we have received applications for agencies located in divisions 3 and 5. And I'd like to also share that we have a few other applications that have been received. And before we go to the next slide, I just want to point out, if we can look at this budget, that how it's divided up among 5 divisions, and each division is allocated $7,000. So in Division 3, as a result of 3 applications received so far, there's currently $1,000 remaining. We can move to the next slide, please. So this first slide shows additional applications we have received. For Division 2, the Environmental Charter High School in Inglewood, this is their first application for a station located in Division 2. However, it is the 3rd application that they have already submitted this fiscal year. So as you are aware, according to the program guidelines, the 2 grant awards can be made to each entity per fiscal year. I also wanted to share with you the applications received that are located in Division 3 area. And as indicated in the earlier slide for the budget, Division 3 currently has $1,000 remaining. So these 2 applications combined are a total of $3,000, and that exceeds right now the current allocated amount for that particular division. So in summary, we will continue monitoring any new applications received and most likely bring these applications that you see here back to you in a couple of months. This will be for your consideration of accepting the application if there is not enough room in the overall budget to do so. So we'll see how many applications we receive between now and then. And lastly, we are doing a push. We will be doing a push for additional marketing of this program, and particularly in the areas that have not seen that much activity so far this fiscal year. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Director Houston.
Perfect. Thank you, Tammy. I know you're working really hard, and so we'll see what we get before the end of the fiscal year. And I think it's great that we have a couple of options even in Torrance, but I guess that's because of the nature of our service area, because is El Nido Park, that's in the very north end of Torrance, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think I've been there in the past, and Victor Park as well. So the EJ or anybody, can you elaborate? Because there are areas in Torrance city limits, but somehow we have some jurisdiction. I mean,
There are portions of the city of Torrance that are in the West Basin service area, and we have actually worked with the city of Torrance on our conservation programs, but also our water bottle filling station programs. And actually, Torrance Unified School District is actually 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, met with West Basin staff and identified which of their schools were in the West Basin service area so that they could avail themselves to these programs. So
you can send us a map like of Torrance that just shaped where, like a blown up map at some point, because whenever I tell people about Torrance, I just say, well, you guys do your own water through the metropolitan relationships that we really, as a whole, we just don't do anything in Torrance except for recycle water. But, it'd be good to know the better things to say. I mean, when it comes
Yeah. The city of Torrance is served primarily by City of Torrance Water, but also Cal Water Service Company has a portion of that that's wrapped up into our service areas.
So again, these are new opportunities we haven't really seen coming from Torrance in the past too often, if at all, both on the drinking fountains and maybe some of other programs. So it's good for us to understand and be better educated on that. Thank you, EJ and Tammy.
Anything else? Carry on.
That concludes item 6, our information calendar, and brings us to item 7, which is closed session. There are no closed session items today, so that would take us to item 8, director's comments and future agenda items.
Director Houston, comments for the future. Thank you very much. We'll go on now.
Sure. Thank you. I would like to say, and I alluded to this earlier, I think an activity we could look at would be some of the similar hands-on workshops in the other divisions. So if you all would look at that and reach out to the board members with some potential options of organizations, relationships with those cities, maybe we can identify one in each of the divisions. Obviously, Gardenia's, got one going on already. And we have the whole year to do this, but I think that'd be a great thing for us to entertain. Also, I know in my area, there's garden clubs and we do have relationships with some of those, but if staff, maybe you can put them on some of your distribution lists when it comes to the outreach on how to maintain the outdoor landscapes or something like that. Consider, Jennifer, that if you have some of the garden club emails, or reach out to them and just include them, because I think they could help get that information out to their members. And last but not least, I would ask staff too, we have an environmental committee in El Segundo, EJ, and I think they've kind of gone through their ups and downs, but I believe they're getting a little more robust again. So if you all could reach out to them and let's try and schedule a speaking opportunity. You can work with me, of course, on that, but we should present to them. And we did do one a while back. Let's look at something again.
Happy to do that, and I just want to point out that our manager of communications, Amy Rocha, has actually met with members of the committee and talked about grass replacement, some of the opportunities for signage and such. So we've had some pretty good conversations, but we can reach back out.
Yeah, let's look at something because, I don't know what they talk about every month, but you all can talk to them and I'd love to come down and speak to them, especially since most people are now back in real-time meetings rather than the Zoom thing. So coming out of Earth Month, I think there'll be more and more interest And El Segundo is getting a lot more green, if you will, so that's a good thing. So I just would request that. All right, and that's all I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have nothing. I want to just say thank you for all the good work that you've done and will continue to do. So,
Mr. Chair,
great. Thank you for joining us.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
thank you. I apologize for being late, but I will be on the next committee meeting, so thank you very much.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, hearing nothing else, we will adjourn this meeting. We will adjourn.